What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of hip internal rotation. A lot of people lack hip internal rotation. I'm going to just tell you straight up, we got to get better with this. First off, let's talk about what is hip internal rotation. That's 3 times I said it in the last 30 seconds. That shows you how important this is. On with the video. Basically, hip internal rotation is the movement of the thigh inward towards the body's midline. This is crucial for everyday activities such as walking, running, pivoting, squatting. Everyday activities are centered around hip internal rotation. The primary muscles used in this motion are going to be your gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, and tensor fasciae latae. Hopefully I said that correctly. But those are the 3 primary muscles used in hip internal rotation. Of course, you have other accessory muscles that help with the movement as well. Now, the million-dollar question, why do people struggle with hip internal rotation? I'm gonna tell you. A lot of people stand all day, they sit around all day, either for work purposes or that's just what they do on a daily basis. When you do these 2 things, you're gonna lack good hip internal rotation. If you don't work this motion, meaning you don't move the body towards the body's midline on a regular basis, you're not gonna be as fluid in this motion. I can tell you from my personal experience, I didn't have the best hip internal rotation. The last couple of years where I realized my hip internal rotation wasn't the best. Shout out to my son because he's the one that kind of showed me the way. Believe it or not, you learn a lot from your kids just through observation. Those of you who have kids know what I'm talking about. But moving my thighs inward just wasn't the best for me. Sitting in a standard resting squat, or what people commonly refer to this move as the Asian squat, it was a struggle. And you can really tell how bad your hip internal rotation is if you struggle getting into a resting squat, or let's say the resting squat is pretty easy for you. If you can't perform this simple motion by sitting on the ground where your feet are positioned just outside of them, and then rise up into a resting or Asian squat, that's when you know you don't have the best hip internal rotation. Of course, other things play a role as well, like poor ankle mobility, lower back inflexibility, but mainly hip internal rotation. And speaking of poor lower back function, if you have terrible hip internal rotation, your lower back isn't gonna be able to perform at its optimal level. You know how muscles are interrelated with each other? And some muscles, if they are weaker, then the other stronger muscles have to overcompensate and they get weaker over time too. That's how all of these things play a role with each other. Not only will you have poor lower back function, but also pelvic instability, more unnecessary stress placed on your knees, mainly the MCL. And last but not least, what you guys all came to this video for, poor kicking ability. Now, poor is a strong word. I really should just say not fully optimized or not the best when it comes to kicking. However, being in this business for a while, you start to realize a pattern. And that's what I come to find out. A lot of people don't have the best kicking motion, all due to the fact poor hip internal rotation. For example, let's say you're getting ready to throw a side kick. Generally speaking, when you get into a side kick chamber, you internally rotate your kicking leg. Now, for sparring purposes, I don't advise you guys to do that. You don't want to telegraph your motion or your kick to your opponent. You want to disguise that kick as much as possible. But for technical and let's say drill training purposes, when you get ready to throw a side kick, internally rotate your hip. As you guys can see, I get pretty good hip internal rotation when I go into that side kick chamber. Now, many people who don't have the best hip internal rotation, they get a side kick chamber like this. Just simply chambering in this position, and if you're not able to turn your hip in, shows me that you're not able to fully optimize your side kicking ability. Then the magic comes in. Let's say you don't have the best chamber, or let's say it's average, and you turn that kick in as best you can, and you kick, and you see this motion right here. The infamous, unstable, uncoordinated, and inflexible side kick I have ever seen in my entire life. That's a little too far, but guys, this isn't the best side kick. And it pains me when I see this from people that I work with or people who just might have a question and say, hey Spence, how do I improve my side kick? Now, this isn't a knock on anyone because I've been there, but I just want people to understand that it's not solely a flexibility issue. Remember what I always talk about on my channel, build strength instead of just focusing solely on flexibility. So Going back to that infamous side kick, which we dread, when you guys try to turn that hip in, you lack that motion of fully turning your leg in. In turn, what happens? You get a bad side kick and you're not able to maximize the power of your side kick. All because your muscles aren't working together and efficiently. But like anything in life, we talked about the problem. Now, to provide the solution. The solution, guys, work hip internal rotation. It's as simple as it's going to get. Now, you guys know on my channel, we have different mobility exercise videos that I have to offer. And I'm gonna be working on a video to help you guys improve hip internal rotation, like a 10-minute follow along video. But we have exercises we can do to improve this motion. One of my favorite exercises is the seated hip internal rotation with a band. Sit down on a chair, table, couch, put the band around your ankles. If you have a yoga block, place it in between your knees. You can also use like a foam roller or just a couple of hoodies. You just want adequate space between your knees. And from here, don't pop your butt up, okay? Make sure you guys keep your bunda glued to that chair and you internally rotate that hip. Make sure you pause briefly. Don't just rush through the motion. Pause briefly for like 1 to 2 seconds and you repeat this for reps. You make sure, of course, you do the other side, and you might find another side tighter than the other. That's perfectly normal. You might even find out that the dominant kicking side is tighter than the other side, which is like, wait, what? This is my stronger side. But remember, when you're dominant on one side, you're also gonna be tighter on that side because it's stronger, yes, but it's also gonna be taking over more of the load. So that's why it's tighter. So we have to build mobility in the process to make it even more stronger. So we have that exercise. We have 90-90 transfers. I love Cossack squats because that helps you build hip internal rotation. And if you get real groovy with this exercise, you can add this motion when you get to that bottom position. Just simply internally rotate your hip, boom. Look how you just optimize the Cossack squat. So we have exercises we can do to improve hip internal rotation. Once you begin addressing the elephant in the room, then you're gonna notice improvement, not only in walking, running, but the biggest thing, kicking ability. You'll find that your side kick chambering is a lot more fluid. Your side kick will look to a more beautiful side kick, like it's just effortless to throw it. That's what we want. When it comes to working hip internal rotation, what I advise you guys to do is to work it pretty frequently. You know, in the beginning, be a little aggressive. Go heavy. Like when I say heavy, go more intensely throughout the week, like maybe like 3 times out of the week. And then you just have low volume, low intensity throughout the rest of the week. But you can work on hip internal rotation every single day. If you wanna just do 90-90 transfers, like 3 sets of 20 reps, 10 reps each side, that's perfectly fine. But gradually, you do wanna introduce more load because we wanna build more strength and stability. Because all of those years of us just standing or sitting around for a long time, those muscles that have a lot to do with hip internal rotation, they start to atrophy. So you definitely want to introduce some type of overloading sequence in the process. What I typically do is I focus 2 days out the week, focusing heavily on hip internal rotation. And then the rest of the week, I'm just doing like a resting squat, some Cossack squats. Nothing with weights, just trying to keep it as simple as possible. And we talked about how it improves your kicking ability because when you improve hip internal rotation, your side kick chamber will look a lot better. Your side kick in general will look a lot better. Your roundhouse kick, your hook kick, any kick you decide to do will look a lot better and most importantly, feel a lot better. You won't feel as stiff because we talked about hip internal rotation being important in not only lower back function, your pelvis stability, knee mobility and stability. So all of these things are interrelated with each other. And it's important that you work to improve this range because it's gonna open up a realm of possibilities. So don't neglect the power of hip internal rotation. I'm glad I'm able to share this information with you guys now because had I known this 10 years ago, I wouldn't be stretching. No, but for real guys, just work on that motion. Still incorporate flexibility exercises throughout your weekly routine, mainly for recovery. That's what I have for you guys. Work on hip internal rotation. Don't neglect it. Then you're gonna see an improvement in your overall performance and just everyday activities. Guys, you know what to do. Smash that like button if you enjoyed the video. And I don't know why I just lost where I was gonna be at. Most importantly, make sure you're properly subscribed. I'll see you guys next video. Peace and mad love as always, guys. Ashe! Boom! Oh, you know what? Side kick, boom! We out, baby.